Okay, this next lesson is going to focus specifically on the ideas of William Harvey. Now, admittedly, William Harvey is a difficult one to get your head around. I mean, we've previously looked at Sydenham and Vesalius. Harvey's definitely one we need to understand in the grand scheme of things in terms of new ideas. So what we need to understand with today's lesson is look at the ideas, explain what factors enabled Harvey's discovery, and then sort of like make a comparison on his importance compared to the other individuals. Look at the positives and the negatives. Now, if we're not sure, blood circulation is how the blood goes around your body, okay? So that's a phrase that you might see in a stimulus point, blood circulation. Also, we need to understand that circulation means where the blood goes around the body. So, here's some questions just to get you thinking before we start the lesson. You can pause the video and write these down. If you're not sure on any, then you need to go back and revise. But we've got what was humanism, key idea that we looked at in this course. Give 2 ideas that Thomas Sydenham had. What was invented around 1440 that stopped books being written by hand? What does Renaissance actually mean? Which ideas from the medieval period were beginning to be doubted during the Renaissance period? What does alchemy mean? What was the role of the Royal Society in Renaissance medicine? And why was the New World important in disease treatment? They're all things that we've looked at so far for Renaissance. So if you just go through those, pause the video, answer them as a little bit of recall. If you'd prefer just to do it in your head, that's fine. If you don't know any of those, go back and revise over it. So before we look into Harvey, we need to look at what Galen said about circulation. So Galen said, number 1, new blood was constantly made in the liver to replace blood burning in the body. He said that veins carried blood and air round the body, and that air helped push the blood. Blood passed from one side of the heart to the other through invisible holes in the septum. And then also blood was pumped by the soul. So these are all ideas that Galen had about blood circulation. And Harvey went through a process in which he looked at Vesalius's ideas and Galen's ideas, and he managed to disprove them. So I'm going to go through some ideas that Harvey disproved and then look at how he did it. So the first one. Discovery number 1, the blood in veins flows to the heart. So Vesalius had a theory that veins contain valves, proving that the blood in them flowed towards the heart. How did Harvey prove this? So we need to have an understanding. So first of all, let me just explain it one more time. Vesalius, so we're not talking about Harvey here, we're talking about how Harvey looked at some of Vesalius's ideas, but remember Vesalius disproved Galen's. So Vesalius had a theory that veins contained valves, proving that the blood in them flowed towards the heart. How did he prove it? He proved it through dissections. Now dissections very similar to Vesalius. By using dissections, when he tried to pump blood the other way through the veins, it didn't work. So basically, what we need to have an understanding here is that the blood flowed in one direction, and when he tried to pump it the other way, it didn't work. This is really key to understand. So the concept that blood in the veins flows to the heart, it goes in the direction towards the heart, it cannot go the other way. So it can't be pumped in certain ways. It can only be pumped in one direction. And the way in which Harvey developed that was by using dissections. The next discovery that William Harvey made was that Galen was wrong about the liver. So Galen was incorrect in believing that blood was made in the liver as a product of what somebody ate. So that's what Galen thought. Blood was made in your liver as you ate different things. Then it flowed through the body to provide energy and it was used up. So just believed that blood was just used up as energy. How did Harvey prove this? Harvey looked at the logistics behind it and worked out that if the liver was making that level of production, you would need 1,800 litres of blood a day for a person to survive. That is quite obvious that Galen was wrong in that respect. And by proving that the liver would need 1,800 litres of blood a day to survive, it shows that Harvey's ideas in this respect were correct, and that it was impossible that the liver produced blood and burned when it was used up. It just didn't work. But the key idea here is that proof of how much you would have actually needed if it was correct in the first place. Discovery 3 was that blood circulates. Arteries and veins were linked together in one system. How did he prove it? So first of all, he cut open cold-blooded animals. They have a much slower heartbeat. They were much more effective to observe the movement of the blood while they were still alive. As they're still alive, their heart's still pumping, so the blood is going to pump. That's the first thing he did, so making observations of cold-blooded animals. The second thing he did was he tied a cord around the arm to cut off blood flow in the artery leading up the arm. Now, what we'll notice is if you cut off any sort of artery on your body, then you'll start getting numbness and a strange feeling in the part of the body where the blood's been cut off. Especially if you're in overly cold conditions as well, this can happen, which leads to you getting things like frostbite. Now, when Harvey loosened the cord to allow some blood to flow through the artery, which is set deeper, but still stopping it from flowing out through the vein, which would swell with blood, basically, it's all very medical and confusing, which we need to just try and break it down. He showed that blood was getting in via the artery, but couldn't get out because he blocked the vein. This is that concept of the blood going in one direction. By loosening a cord to allow some blood to flow through the artery, but still stopping it from flowing out through the vein, which would swell with blood, it was important to show that the blood circulation goes through arteries and veins in one system. And if they were blocked off, then this is where Harvey's ideas are useful in terms of looking at blood clotting, looking at preventing people losing their limbs because of blood not getting to certain parts of the body. So showing that arteries and veins were linked together in one system is really useful for treatment, even in today's modern society, because people know that if you don't get, for example, blood to your brain for a certain amount of time, it could lead to brain damage. So really important to understand that Harvey proved that arteries and veins were linked in one system. And then the fourth discovery was that Galen was wrong again. He disproved Galen's theory that blood flowed from one side of the heart to the other through invisible pores in the heart wall. He also disproved Galen's theory that whilst veins carried both blood and pneuma, which was picked up in the lungs, the arteries just carried blood. So Galen believed that the arteries and the veins carried blood and air. Harvey disproved this and said that the arteries just carried blood, whereas the veins carried both blood and air. How did he prove it? He showed that veins carried only blood. He proved that the heart acted as a pump, and he used the mechanical fire engine pump to prove this. So the heart is a pumping motion which pumps the blood around the body through a system of arteries and veins in one direction. If that blood is cut off, then you could be in a bit of bother. Harvey began this whole understanding of the heart being this pumping organ that helps people survive. Now, the impact of Harvey. Harvey did have a very significant impact, but realistically, his ideas were only about blood circulation. In terms of the grand scheme of things, does blood circulation help with treatment? I mean, yes, I guess in today's society it does, but in the Renaissance period, it didn't really have a far-reaching change, a far-reaching audience in comparison to, say, maybe Vesalius's or Sydenham's ideas. But the concept of blood circulation is deemed very important, and there are some positives and negatives. So the first one here is positive. Many people consider his book, An Anatomical Account of the Motion of the Heart and Blood in Animals, to be the beginning of modern physiology. So basically what that's saying is that Harvey was a trendsetter in the field of modern physiology. Now, why is that important? Well, first of all, what needs to be understood is that the concept of modern physiology is the idea of it dealing with normal functions of living organisms or bodily part functions. So by understanding the concept and the function of the heart, it allows people to go on and look into deeper aspects of things such as the brain in the future. So by looking at something as important as the heart and blood circulation, it encourages other people to begin this concept of modern physiology. We'll look at the other positive ones. So number 3, his work encouraged other scientists to experiment on actual bodies. For example, if the liver didn't make blood, then what did it do? If blood wasn't absorbed from nourishment, then what did nourish the body? It got people thinking more rationally. By people understanding that it wasn't the liver creating blood and pumping blood, people could start to look at other concepts and start questioning new things and coming up with new ideas. Now this bottom one here is a bit of positive and negative, because Harvey's accounts began to appear in universities in 1673. The negative aspect is that English textbooks continue to give Galen's account until 1651. So it shows that Harvey's ideas took a lot of catching on. Number 2. This was Harvey's own downfall, number 2. He didn't consider himself to be a modern scientist. He followed the teachings of Aristotle and believed the body was designed by a higher power and the soul was responsible for how the body worked. Could this lead to some people questioning him in this time of rational thinking? Yes, absolutely. If we're moving away from the concept of the soul and the development of the church, then Harvey's sort of shooting himself in the foot here by having these beliefs, but also not seeing himself as a modern scientist might lose him some form of credibility. And then understanding the circulation of the blood, number 4, had little practical use in medical treatment. A lot of doctors ignored him and some even criticised him. Nobody recovered from disease knowing that the blood flowed to the heart. So at the start, having this understanding, I mean, now we definitely have more of an understanding. We know in terms of if someone wants to have a heart attack, using stents to widen the veins of the arteries is important to helping them live a more normal life. But at the time, people believed that recovering from disease wasn't linked to blood flowing to the heart. Now, when we look at factors that enabled Harvey's discovery, they are quite simplistic. You've got 5 factors that the exam board do get you to focus on. But remember, you just need to know what Harvey did and what change it caused. To institutions, because the church was going down, it allowed Harvey to criticise Galen's work. Without the work of Vesalius, then it might have been said that Harvey couldn't have done his work. It made it easier for Harvey to criticise Galen because Vesalius had done it 300 times over. Also, Harvey was the personal physician of Charles I. He was the personal doctor of the king, which gave him some more credibility, even though he didn't see himself as a modern physician. The mechanical pump allowed Harvey to look at how the heart worked with the pumping method and the one direction. I would say there wasn't many scientific breakthroughs at this stage, but the fact that the Royal Society was in existence allowed Harvey's ideas to be shared and discussed. And the attitudes, humanism and rational thinking. Eventually, as the ideas caught on, people began to discuss Harvey. This was another form of exam question. This was in the first year, maybe. Explain why there was progress in medical knowledge. You could do a paragraph on Harvey. It is more difficult, but it does get you thinking about why Harvey's blood circulation methods were very important to the overall development of medical knowledge.